last. Ahoy, ho, ho, our time has finally come.
Let us plunder like mad and go break bad, for the fixer is all but done.
Look here, mateys, this looks useful. In fact, I've a notion that it be crucial.
It seems fate has brought us together again, ma petite rivette.
Guess fate really loves seeing you get your butt kicked, Pierre.
Ah! Yoo-hoo! Pirate mateys, attack!
Oh dear, the pirates are raiding for scrap.
You can't let them get that hurl shot.
Perhaps it would be worth using the high ground here.
Good idea. Ah, shields! Looks like we're gonna have to get creative.
Hey everyone, it's Paris, and I'm back with another video. And this time, it's a preview of Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart for the PlayStation 5. And I want to thank PlayStation and Insomniac Games. Last week, they had a hands-off preview event, and I truly appreciate the opportunity to be invited and attend, as we got to see some extended gameplay footage from Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, as well as attend some breakout sessions with the development team at Insomniac Games. And they kind of broke down the story, they broke down the design, as well as the music, and just building the world of Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to cut this over to some gameplay, and as you watch some of this gameplay, we will discuss Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, and I'll let you know what I think. So again, thank you guys for checking out this video. I truly appreciate it. So here we go. Let's look at some gameplay footage and my impressions of Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. Alright, so Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. Like I said at the top, I want to thank PlayStation and Insomniac. Last week, they had a 2-day event, hands-off digital preview event, and they broke it up into parts where we got to see, and I forget the exact time length, but I don't know, it was probably about 35 minutes of extended gameplay that did feature Ratchet Clank. They kind of showed us the opening of the game, and then they cut to extended gameplay with Rivet, which was great. But they also had some breakout sessions with the development team at Insomniac Games, and they kind of gave us an overview of the story. They talked about the design, talked about building the world, as well as the music. And you're probably thinking, all right, well, what do I think? What do I think of the game? I mean, I loved what I got to see. I loved what the development team was talking about the game, and just, you know, how they're utilizing the PlayStation 5 to not only build the world of Rift Apart, but, you know, just take advantage of the DualSense controller, take advantage of the 3D audio. Not to mention with the SSD drive. You know, there was one developer that mentioned which came first. Wasn't sure. Was it the idea of doing, you know, these rifts, these dimensions, or was it the SSD, which then sparked the idea of, hey, we can take advantage of these fast load times. And they talked about how now they can, like, instantly, they only need to stream in what we see on screens at any given time, because it's almost instant. So that just allows, it frees up, you know, more resources to do other things in the world. I mean, visually, I mean, the game is just absolutely stunning. It just is. Like, for me, I kind of call it, this is like Pixar kind of mid-2000s animation. That's just how good it looks. You know, when, you know, I'm thinking like something like The Incredibles or Monsters Inc. as an example. They're getting that close. You know, in my personal opinion, being able to see the high-res version of the gameplay, this is about as close as we're gonna get to a Pixar movie. It's the best looking video game I've ever seen, for sure. But like I said, they broke this up in, you know, into different parts, and they talked about the story. So let's just kind of jump into that a little bit. You know, they mentioned that, you know, this is an older, more mature Ratchet, but, you know, he still is plagued by some of his insecurities, but he's no longer impulsive, chasing his past. Obviously, everything with the dimension gun, you know, now he could potentially go use that to go find more of his kind out there, which is kind of how they start off the game in some of the gameplay footage that we got to see. They also talk about Rivet. You know, Rivet is almost like the opposite of Ratchet in the sense that she's always been alone. She didn't have a Clank, right? She's been living in this alternate, you know, universe, in this oppressive world where, you know, Dr. Nefarious is actually Emperor Nefarious and he always wins, right? And that's kind of the beauty of them being able to do these multiple dimensions, because we're going to be introduced to previous characters that we've seen, and we're going to see them in a completely new light. Like Rusty Pete is an example of a character who is now Space Pirate Pierre LaFleur, and he's a singing swashbuckler, and just his whole banter is hilarious. Which, let me just pause right here and say, kudos to the voice cast that they have just in the gameplay that I got to see. It is phenomenal, and it is clearly led by Jennifer Hale, who is a legend in this industry, and she is the voice actress for Rivet. And I'm telling you now, if you didn't tell me it was Jennifer Hale, I wouldn't know. That's just how good she is. It's fantastic. But, you know, there again, with the going back to the story, like I said, we're gonna see both character arcs. Well, really three, but we're gonna see character arcs for Ratchet, for Rivet, and Clank as well. You know, and I love that we're seeing the dynamic. Like, you see how Clank interacts with Ratchet because they're a veteran team, they're best friends, they've been together for a long time, and then to see Clank interacting with Rivet, brand new person, they don't know each other, and they're learning to trust. It's the dynamic between the two is just phenomenal. I just loved it. But going back again, like I said, to the story, you know, it's that character development and these characters learning each other and learning something from each other. Like, eventually Ratchet's gonna learn something from Rivet's gonna learn something from Clank, the whole thing. Obviously we got Dr. Nefarious out there. We see Quark at the very beginning of the gameplay as well. But, you know, it's like they're taking everything that we loved about Ratchet and Clank and they're turning it up to 11 with Rift Apart. And like I said, from the gameplay that I got to see, I just think using these dimensions and just it adds so much depth to the story now, because you never know what's next coming around the corner. And then, like I said, they had the extended gameplay with Rivet, and it was phenomenal. I mean, just showing that entire weapons, the gameplay that you see, like going up against, you know, Space Pirate Pierre, you know, and his pirate crew is part of the extended gameplay that we got to see. And they really highlighted Rivet, you know, using her entire arsenal of weapons. And you could tell that the gameplay loop encourages you to want to experiment with different weapons as you're going through. That's kind of the fun of it, using all these different, you know, Ratchet and Clank is known for its wacky weapons, and they're on display right here. Like the one that, instead of it being a freeze gun, you know, it freezes you by turning you into like a plant, right? And you're frozen, and then you could pull out another weapon, or you have the pirates that have the shield, so you have to get around that, and you're using different weapons for that as well. There's boss fights as well in there. And again, just from an audio standpoint, a visual standpoint, it was phenomenal. And then the dev team was just talking about how they're using the DualSense controller, you know, to kind of bring the immersion, that and the 3D audio, to bring it all together with the haptic feedback and the 3D sound. And, you know, not having hands-on, I can't tell you directly how it was with the DualSense, but the way the development team described it, this is probably next to Astro's Playroom. This is a game that is taking full advantage of that DualSense controller and really immersing you into the world. And again, just topping it off with the 3D audio as well. You know, like I said, when we look at the design of this game, they're saying that it will run it with ray tracing. You can see the lighting, and it was phenomenal in the gameplay. But 30 frames per second. There will be a 60 frames per second mode as well. They didn't go into too much detail about that, but you know, it's taking full advantage of that SSD. Like I said before, this is how they're able to have, you basically have simultaneous levels loaded at the same time, and you can instantly switch between the two. And other assets, they're able to stream in instantly, so only the things that you need at that moment are available in the game. So it allows, you know, them to utilize other resources to do other things in the world at the same time. Again, talking about the music, it's just great. Again, the combination of the music along with the voice acting with that 3D audio just truly immerses you into this world that they're creating with Ratchet and Clank. And you know, like I said, the gameplay you can see for yourself as you're listening to me. It's just gorgeous. It's just a gorgeous game. It just looks fun to play. I can't wait until I get my actual hands on it. But overall, like I said, I want to thank PlayStation. I want to thank Insomniac for this opportunity. I mean, you guys can see it for yourself. This is why you get a PlayStation 5. Ratchet and Clank, it is a known IP, a franchise that is just steeped in all the lore and the history that we've had, over the years. And now with the PlayStation 5, being able to take advantage of that SSD, couple it with the DualSense, obviously the 3D audio that I keep harping on, you see visually, it's stunning. Throw in the classic Ratchet and Clank weapons and gameplay, like the developers themselves said, turn it up to 11, and this is what you get. I am excited to explore Rivet. I want to know more about Rivet. Oh, and another thing I forgot in the gameplay, there's pocket dimensions in here. It's almost like having side missions while you're in the game. They're optional, but you can go into like these small pocket dimensions, and there's like cosmetic, like there was a Ratchet helmet that you could get. That was like the end goal of going in there. So even in itself, it's an optional thing, but you are rewarded at the end with something that potentially you could use down the road, or at least even from a cosmetic standpoint. But like I said, again, the story sounds phenomenal. Gameplay that we saw so far, there was even a Shadow of the Colossus type moment in there, hopping on the rails, just utilizing the world, being able to hop in between, using the rifts to be able to, like in a boss fight, to get a different angle to attack an enemy, a different way than just straight ahead. There's all these different combinations in the gameplay loop. Like I said, you throw the weapons in at the same time, and all this adds up to what is shaping up to be another masterpiece game coming from Insomniac Games. So again, I want to thank PlayStation. I want to thank Insomniac for the opportunity. This is Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, coming June 11th, 2021 to the PlayStation 5. I'm Paris. Thank you guys for checking this out. Really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys really soon.